board the re-entry capsule.
So this, so are they adjusting? Would the crew in this capsule be adjusting this right now, or they just left?
I think it's automatic.
Automatic.
It's automatic.
Actually speaking, okay, we've already seen the deployment of the. Okay,
That's the capsule.
That's the
that we're
re-entry
looking at,
capsule.
right? Yeah.
I think this is the infrared image.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot of heatings that they're depleted from the capsule. The
absolutely.
bright part is the capsule itself,
The
and there's a
tail, right?
tail of the plasma, and
you can see the long trail is the evaporized
heat.
the evaporized ablative materials.
发时跟踪结束。
This is basically the blackout period. I think they can only track the capsule by the optical and infrared images, not by communication with the crew.
How
沙洲
what kind
发
of
现目标
does this get to?
Above 2,000.
About 2,000. What about inside the capsule?
In room temperature.
I managed to keep it at that steady temperature the whole time back.
But there is an increase in the temperature, and also we know there's a window, and also lots of heating.
安西发现目标，
You can
黄
feel
河
it,
跟踪结
but
束
you。don't get
It
burned
won't,
because
right.
it's just controllable, still controllable.
But they would feel the change in
Yeah, they
temperature.
would feel the temperature changes.
Very bright.
It's like you're very close to an oven or a fire that you can still feel the fire, but you don't
Right,
get
right.
burned. Yes, yeah.
So this blackout stage, how long does this last then normally? We're looking
A few
at
minutes.
few
A few minutes.
Usually the period of the blackout period is about 3 to 4 minutes.
3 to 4 minutes, and the astronauts themselves, I mean, we have no connection with them obviously right now. so
Only
it's-
without communication, but still, as we've already seen this video image, so we can predict the trajectory by this means. And also we have radar, the ground-based radar, to tracking the spacecraft.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but there's always this perception that
双重发现
astronauts
目标
on return will lose consciousness or black out themselves.
回收
But
2号
most of the
发
time
现
they're
目标
completely fine on their way back, aren't they? They can
Well, I'm
manage to
sure
stay
that
conscious
Jing
the whole
Haipeng,
time.
as the first time coming back, must be very excited, looking out and communicating with his colleagues.
They can also see the flames outside their window.
Wow.
It's like in the oven, but you're inside the oven.
That can't be too comfortable, but apparently it is for them if they're managing to keep it at steady room temperature. So from now, now that they've entered the blackout zone, from now until touching down, roughly we're looking at how many minutes?
I think after the blackout, there will be a slowdown and deployment of the parachute, and there's a complete process. It depends also on wind speed, and then we have another prediction of the landing site. So quite, I think,
Within half an hour?
with less than
Less than that, 20 minutes or
Yeah.
even more. So, Professor, you were saying that they're traveling, they need to get the speed down from 8,000 kilometers per second.
To about, that's
zero.
just as Mr. Xi mentioned, the deployment of the parachutes, the speed of the re-entry capsule is about 200 meters per second, and the altitude is about 10 kilometers high.
So in terms of, so to get the speed down, are we, is it a very sort of a steady, slowdown, or is there a sudden slowdown
Let's say
at some
there's
point?
four ways of slowing down the capsule. First is this using the service module to what we call a brake burn, which is the burning of the engine to slowing down the capsule from 7.9 kilometers per second to a speed where it can start re-entering to the Earth.
That's a simulation we saw.
That's the simulation we saw before the separation of the service module. And the second stage is using what we're seeing now, using the atmosphere to drag down and to slow down the capsule so that can reach a speed which is from supersonic to subsonic, so that we can start deploying this the parachute. Because if you are deploying this parachute in supersonic, it will destroy the parachute and also even break down the parachute itself. So using the atmosphere to slow down is second stage, and third one is using that parachute. Fourth one is using the ritual engines at the 2 meters above the Earth. We fire the engine like a pyrotechnics, and then we slow down like a cushioning the capsule down to zero.
And at each stage when this reduction in speed is being experienced, would the astronauts themselves experience a sudden jolt and a change in speed, or is it fairly imperceptible?
That causes overload or the G-forces.
Right.
That's the peak value will be about 3.6 G. which means that the forces you experience is about 3 to 4 times of your own mass, of your own weight. So this is very uncomfortable, but lasts for only several half minutes of the peak value. But although in this normal case they only experience the G forces of about 3.6 times their own mass, but that they must be trained for the emergency re-entry up to 8G. And moreover, you see that for the pilots and the commanders, they not only have to compare these G forces, but also do the right operation under these G forces up to 8G.
Yes, the human can take up to 12G. Above that, you die. So that's the maximum that you can take by human body. So there was one return case by the Russian capsule. I was on board. There was a Korean female astronaut, and they came back 11G. So the astronauts came back, but they survived. And once they were asking how was the return, the lady said it's very smooth.
What you mentioned is Miss Yi Song-Yan. She's also a good friend of mine. But she mentioned she does not feel so serious during the whole process.
But then does it leave you with any, would it leave the human body with any kind of upsets or any ailments afterwards, after experiencing such a high number of Gs?
That not only these G forces, but also the intensive vibration during this process. That's the problem. So the astronauts must be trained before their flight missions for the vibration. They will go to the test bed and lying down there and fasten their safety belts and then experience vibration. But the also be simulated, but around the same time with the vibration.
动5分42秒，东经腰动动度动5分42秒，弱点纬度北纬41度38分36秒，北纬41度38分36秒，北京第3次落点引导已发出，雄鹰。
And then the main parachute.
Now we're looking at
Yes, I believe this is the main parachute. So the total area of this main parachute is 1,200 square meters.
10公里通，
Very huge.
10公里通，正确，王室。
Very beautiful.
It's all happening very quickly, so we're expecting this to possibly touch down in the next 10
So
minutes or so.
after deployment of the main parachute,
主伞一打开
no any control of the trajectory. So the landing point will purely depend on the wind. So that's why we need more predictions, because with the forecast of the weather, we can get a precise prediction of the speed of the wind, and then we have a more precise prediction of the landing point.
So we should be able to hear from the astronauts quite soon, right? From inside the capsule. Have already, I don't think
the opening of the hatch can take some time, because once you're there, it's 20 to 30 minutes before they return. They open the hatch.
Oh, that's a report from Mr. Jing Haipeng, the commander.
that was from the, I was wondering, because now that they've exited the blackout zone,
the communication link has already re-established.
So what kind of a speed are they at now? Is it did you say 200?
They are less than that, about maybe 10 to 20 meters per second, I believe.
So this should be quite a fairly comfortable right now for the astronauts.
That the altitude of the Jiuquan satellite launch center is about 1,000 meters high above the sea level. At this moment, still the altitude of the vehicle is several kilometers above that. So the speed is relatively high, and it will de-accelerate continuously. And just before the landing, it will be about 6 to 8 meters per second.
What does that feel like for, if you put it into kind of very layman terms?
Let's say a skydiver. If you jump off the plane, it's like a separation of the service module. And then you have a free fall, which is like a blackout.
Right.
And then there's the deployment of this parachute. It's similar to this whole process. Then you're landing back to Earth. It's from very high speed down to the parachute, then you open and you're slowing down and drifting down. It's like riding a balloon.
You can see Shenzhou 17 crew is watching the live coverage inside the space station.
So they went up there last.
We are watching the live
Tuesday,
coverage
of
of China Central Television.
That's right.
On the 26th.
On the 26th.
6公里通。
So they spent only really 5 days.
Already
in space with
below
each other
6
together.
kilometers high. And the next step, they will release all the propellants inside the tanks of the re-entry capsule. You know that we use hydrogen as the propellant for the control of the re-entry capsule. It is called a monopropulsion system. Because the hydrogen is toxic, so we must release all the hydrogen out to ensure the safety.
When they're picking the return date, and Professor Yang, you were telling me earlier about when we were talking about why this mission was 5 months as opposed to 6. I mean, obviously the weather, the conditions are all very important. But picking the exact day for return, what are some of the factors that they have to think about this, and perhaps the natural factors?
You may notice each time we have this live coverage in a different time. This is because you know that a basic requirement is that the re-entry can only conduct when the landing site is passing through the orbital plane of the Shenzhou spaceship.
The closest distance.
So we don't have other choices. We just can only conduct at this moment.
So once the landing date, once that moment is determined, there's just really no adjustments to the landing date.
And
the window's not very flexible.
The answer of your question is that you know that we hope that we can conduct a faster return only for several hours because it will be very more convenient for our astronaut.
Right.
So the position when the landing site is passing through the orbital plane across the orbital plane is also very important. So it must be in a certain position in its orbit. So not every day we have this we have this condition. So the day also should be carefully chosen.
Let's say they land. Let's say they picked. So today obviously would have been the closest distance, but let's say it was delayed till tomorrow. How much longer would that journey be potentially coming back?
As I mentioned, that depends on the position of the orbit, where it is in the orbit when the landing site passing across the orbital plane of the Shenzhou spaceship. And for different day, it's different.
But if you have enough fuel on board, you can adjust your orbit. That can still make it back to Earth, but it's a different process.
But theoretically speaking, they have a window to go back every day.
No, there is every day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then, weather conditions. Then it doesn't matter if it's a little foggy or a little hazy, but what sort of conditions would be very dangerous then?
Windy.
That will be influence the ground teams. Maybe that will be more impact to the ground teams. But for the astronauts, there is no essential difference.
So rain
but
or
the
storms,
wind is a very important factor. As you can see, the whole vehicle together with the parachute is waving. So that is influence of the wind. Also influence the actual coordinate of the landing point.
So it makes it a little bit more unpredictable in that sense.
And at this moment, we should monitor the whole. That's a release. That's a release of the propellant. You can see the smoke is the released vaporized propellant inside the tanks of the propulsion system.
How much propellant would be left in the capsule at this point before it released it?
Much little than those in the propulsion module, because we only need to change the attitude of the re-entry capsule with this propulsion, very small monopropulsion system. And also there will be jettisoning of the heating main heating.
返回舱即将着陆东风着陆场预定位置。
I believe also at this moment or later there will be a raising of the chairs.
So we just heard a message there from the ground control team Shenzhou 16 preparing to touch.
This is already a relatively relaxed moment for the astronauts.
One thing to watch out at this moment is whether the capsules are landing at the vertical position or horizontal, because then the opening is going to be on top or on the side. So that also, because it's like, the parachute is on top of the capsule.
Yeah.
And once it's coming down, sometimes it's tipped over. Sometimes it's landed upright.
But at some point they have to shed the parachute as well, don't they? As soon as it touches down,
cutting the parachute. This operation is charged by Mr. Yangzhu, which is called 02. This is always done by 02 because you know that there is a button just close to him. So as Mr. Xu mentioned, the most optimized one happened during the Shenzhou 6 mission and the Shenzhou 13 mission. Mr. Jing Haipeng and Ms. Wang Yaping conduct this very perfectly. So they cut the cut the parachute at the right moment, so make it possible for the touchdown vertically. And so that.
So does that mean that it should be severed before they actually touch down, or is it at
yes,
the moment?
The moment cutting down is very, very important. So only in these two missions we achieved a vertical touchdown, and
that's the most ideal.
A vertical touchdown will be more convenient for the astronauts.
Because astronauts sitting upright, and if you're landing on the side, it's going to be leaning forward,
right,
or either landing on
their side,
on the side, yes.
And obviously, it wouldn't be ideal if they landed with the hatchet sort of pointing down, but is that possible?
It's never happened, but it's going to be a big rescue team.
But in most cases, as Mr. Xi mentioned, in most cases they will touch down in a horizontal attitude, because the reason is because that during the re-entry we need some control, and the principle is that the center of mass of the re-entry capsule have some deviation from the symmetrical axis of the vehicle. So usually it will lying down.
Right. So did you say it's happened twice for China?
Yeah, only twice.
Only twice. The Shenzhou, which ones?
Because the button, Shenzhou 6 and the Shenzhou 13.
And one thing to look out at this moment is the firing of the ritual engine. That is just 2 meters above the Earth. So you'll see a big plum of smoke coming down from the bottom of the capsule. That is normal because it's the firing of the ritual engine.
Okay. So that capsule, we can see that it is completely charred on the outside.
Yeah, it's on the one side. It has to be very charged. Yes.
On just the one side?
Yeah, because it's coming back in an angle. So one side has more frictions than the other.
And that this is a main parachute. In fact, we also have another backup parachute.
Right.
If anything wrong happens to the main parachute, we can use the backup parachute to ensure the safety landing of our astronauts.
But that's never happened before.
It never happened before.
Surviving the landings.
We hope that never happens.
No. Are we looking at the more charred side of the capsule right now?
Yes, the picture is getting very clear, so it means very close to the ground.
Should be expecting it to touch down in 5-6 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes maybe.
Even less than that, I think.
So they must be very excited right now coming home. What would their state be right now? I mean, they have passed some of the most difficult.
I think they're very relaxed at this moment because they know they're safe now. It's already passing through the most dark moment.
They can put the manuals down as well now at this point, right? Or do they still have to be looking
they have
at this?
a manual to open the hatch. Before that, there's a couple of operations.
But as I mentioned, Mr. Zhu Yangzhu will be in charge of cutting the parachute. So this is an important moment for him.
So he can't relax yet.
Yeah.
Like Professor Yang mentioned, there's a gamma ray altimeter, so that is very radioactive. So the rescue team has to avoid the bottom side of the capsule to avoid radiation contaminations.
They have a lead cover. To block the radiation.
What sort of distance would they be from Earth right now?
I think it's a few hundred meters. I think even
a few hundred meters only.
Yeah.
A few hundred meters only, they'll be dropping down.
We can see this video taken from the camera mounted on the
helicopter.
Yeah.
So it's already at the helicopter altitude.
Right. So the rescue routine would be the helicopter gets there first, spots it, locates it, and then the ground team.
Because it's faster than the ground vehicles.
Right.
At this moment, I believe that the chairs of the 3 astronauts have already been raised to the right position
and that
to dump the energy of impact.
And I mean, coming back from them, it's still going to be a long time before they're able to get back to their normal lives, right? I mean, we're talking about a few months of recovery.
They need some adjustment.
Very long procedure for recovery.
You see that the picture that we've seen a couple of days ago, the 2 crews met, and Jing Haipeng has a very swollen face. Because that happens when you're exposed to extensively microgravity environment. Your body fluid, get confused whether it's going to flow, and you stay extensively longer in outer space. You lose a lot of bone mass, and your cardiovascular system changes. And your blood flow and water flow in your body changes also. Your immune system sometimes changes. So it takes longer to at least a couple of months to get back to get used to the gravity.
回收1号跟踪结束。
It's like a slowing process. You know, one of the astronauts from US, he said to me that he went to a foot massage after 800 days. Sorry, 300
各号注
days
意
in outer space.
我是北
They
京
say he
下
has
面
this
通报
most
返回
soft
舱
foot.
第4次落点预
They
报
have
落点精度东经幺东东
Don't use the
东
false
6分
prediction.
48秒，落点纬度北纬41度38分35秒。 北京第4次落点预报已发出，雄鹰。
The fourth will be the final landing point.
Yeah, and then the crews are, the vehicles, the helicopters are rushing to the site and ready to search and rescue.
And the wind speed is also considered.
正确，
The
某
influence
事。
of the wind speed.
Because that might carry them off to somewhere else. How big of a area would this fourth prediction be for the landing? Oh, there
I
they
see
are.
there's
They're almost.
it's going to be a ritual
they just
firing.
touched
down. 回舱着陆。
We can see the work of the rocket's
Yeah, the
motors.
heat there would be the fire.
Then there's the cutting of the parachute.
So what do you think? Will it be vertical or horizontal?
Vertical.
We will see the result very
北京
Let's bet on it. There's still some wind. You can see the parachute is drifting on the side,
Yes.
and also the
东风我是
smoke.
北京
Yeah, the
I believe it's
smoke.
already successfully cut
东
down.
风到，北京请讲。
They are home.
北京第4次落点预报已发出，后续由东风按计划组织搜救维修工作。
Ground team also has arrived.
东风明白。各号注意，
Are you able to
我
see
是
the
东
ground
风
teams in the
返回舱已着陆
having trouble?，
请雄鹰、猛士按计划组织搜救行动。雄鹰，
Xuying, that's the
Helicopter
right?
team.
猛士，猛士明
It
白。
belongs to the ground team.
The
And
Eagle
this
team.
is probably from the helicopter camera that we're seeing right now, right? I think it looks like the helicopter is landing. We're seeing.
Yeah, this is the helicopter image of the from the top.
东风，雄鹰到
We
了。
still don't have an image of the capsule itself yet.
雄鹰讲
No,，not close up.
雄鹰已在机场降落，返回舱呈倾倒状态，主伞已脱落，
It's on
着
site.
陆进行人运戈壁，报告完毕。
It's
You will
lying
see this
down.
on- It's lying down.
It's taking a rest.
So we can really see the vertical landing.
猛士报告。猛士
There
讲
has to be a very, very precise moment when
With
they,
even no
when they
wind
detach
at all.
it. So, I mean, the wind might also blow the capsule over, or is it just the drag from the
It's a
parachute?
little bit drag, but also if you see that the attaching point of the parachute is also on, make the capsule a little bit sideways.
Right.
It's not on really top of it.
And I mean, the parachute, it's also really critical that they do sever it straight away, right? Otherwise, that could cause the capsule.
If you
to-
haven't cut off the parachute, it will drag the re-entry capsule because of the wind. We can still remember during the during the Shenzhou 10 mission, because the parachute has not been cut down, so it dragged the vehicle for
我是北京，东风
almost
请讲。
100 meters.
Oh, wow.
东东分队
You can see
已到达
the crew is
着陆
reaching
信
the
号
capsule there.
返回舱
So they have to be very careful, right, Mr. Xu? You were saying to avoid the bottom side
Yeah,
of...
well, they have procedures that they have to follow. That which there are a number of crews, medical crews and hatch open crews, the technical supporting teams. All of these has to follow a procedure. Some people have to set up the parameter,
Right.
where is that is forbidden, where is it to be, inviting different crews to come approach and close to the capsule itself.
And the capsule, the outside of the capsule, there's also the potential of toxic gases and
As I mentioned,
elements,
they've
right?
already released all the propellants inside the tank. So maybe there is a small amount
But
of
not
that.
enough to cause any...
Not a big threat.
So they won't need to have to...
But
to
as
treat
Mr.
it,
Xu mentioned,
before they
the
put-
radiation comes from the gamma ray altimeter will be a big matter. So you may notice that every time during the recovery, before we block the radiation with the lead cover, usually the ground team does not go to the not facing the bottom of the vehicle directly.
Right. But the sides of the vehicle is okay.
Yeah.
So we see more crews approaching the capsule right now.
From the hatch side.
It's a good side. It's very... is that the smoke, presumably,
Hazy.
that
I
we're
think
seeing?
probably it's from the helicopters or others.
looks like almost 10 people that are gathering around the capsule.
Just several weeks before return, the Shenzhou 16 crew just enhanced their physical exercise every day.
Yeah, what sort of exercises would that involve?
Such as the treadmill to run inside station, and also the space bicycle and other exercise measures to strengthen their muscles and to readapt with the gravity.
Is that a very different sort of set of exercise from what they would routinely do in the space station?
It's different because you know that because you know that they stay there for 5 months. During the ordinary cases, they don't have a certain schedule, but as I mentioned, just several weeks before their return, they will pay more time on this exercise.
Because 5 months they don't have to use their muscle. I mean, everything, they're floating, sleeping, they're floating, working, they're floating, everything. So their muscle is substantially lost. If you don't use the muscle for 6 weeks, you lose your muscles.
So these astronauts, they'd all experience a lot of weight loss, would they, upon coming back? Is that?
They basically stretch a little bit. I mean, they grow higher because there's
Yes.
Oh,
But they will go back to their normal height.
That's a good benefit of of space journey, no?
You know that during the interview, Mr. Zhang, the commander of the Shenzhou 13 crew, mentioned that you will feel uncomfortable even with the softest bed. Because with the influence of gravity, it's not so comfortable like sleep in outer space.
Sleeping in microgravity environment is the most comfortable way of sleeping. You're basically floating. There's no touching part from anywhere.
That sounds interesting. Maybe one day that can be.
But you have to just attach yourself to certain panels or boards or your own cabins. Otherwise, you're floating around. You could be bumping.
We can see the ground staff is already near the hatch. I believe they are trying to open the hatch.
We've got medical teams also standing by. So with the last landing that we saw, there were medical vans, but one for each of the astronauts.
Exactly. You see that the different ground staff very different clothes in different colors.
Red, blue, and black.
So some belongs to the astronaut system, in charge of the medical issues and to take care of the astronauts.
Would that be the ones in blue and white?
Yes, and possibly. And some where the other colors, some belongs to the spaceship system. The spaceship system will be in charge of the, for instance, as we discussed, to manage the re-entry capsule, to block the radiation and other operations.
But it's good weather. I mean, temperature-wise and everything. So they are going to prepare 3 chairs for the 3 astronauts, ready at the gate of the hatch. And then they will, I mean, the astronaut has to more or less came out by their own, but after 5 months of exposing to microgravity environment, they're very weak.
Right.
So they have to be quickly moved to the chair, and they don't have to move, make a major movement. I think at this moment, the astronauts in the capsule feel their weight now back to Earth. Everything is very heavy.
They get lifted out, but then they can walk. Right?
They can, but
it's just difficult.
Because their bone mass has lost substantially in outer space. So the bones and muscles cannot, support very flexible movement at this moment.
So from now, from after they leave the capsule, they'll be lifted and then taken to the little medical vans waiting for them. And then at what point? Usually, how long would it be before they're able to walk by themselves again, or when it's considered safe for them to walk by themselves?
Usually after several weeks, after readaptation to the gravity.
So the next few weeks, they'll be bedbound.
At this moment, usually in most cases, they are lying down in bed to ensure that, as Mr. Xu mentioned, the possible breaking of their bones.
So I have a question then. If they are bedbound for the next few weeks, how then do they regain muscle strength?
Not exactly bedbound all the time. They have to go through a rehabilitation process. Like once you had an operation, you have to recover, and you have to go do exercise.
And enhance their tolerance to stand up.
Take medicines.
So they'll be opening the hatch, and we should be seeing the order of their exit. Will be the commander first.
And
So
at this
Jing Haipeng and
moment,
then number
the
2,
medical
number 3.
team will help the astronauts to readapt the gravity environment.
So I think the people in blue and white trousers could be from the China Aerospace Science Technology Corporation. They're the manufacturer of the capsule, and they have a technical supporting team to operate and open the hatch, and they know which screw to unwise and which way to touch.
You may compare of the person with the size of the reentry capsule. It's really small for three persons inside, and even they are wearing IVA spacesuits.
If you just look at there's 3 or 4 of them gathered at the hatch of the capsule already. They're kind of blocking half of it. So very little space.
And
So
you can still see that nobody on the bottom side of the capsule. So there's still, as Professor Yang mentioned, there's somebody who's going to use a radioactive blocking cap to cover the radiations.
we haven't seen anyone do that just yet.
东风雄鹰报告。
I think the priority at this moment is the rescue of the astronauts.
Someone just went around the back of the capsule.
舱门打开，报告完毕。
So, I mean, with such a small space, I mean, they have so the hatch is opening now. And they're bringing out commanding
Not
team
only our
first.
3 heroes, but also the valuable
Exactly.
samples returned
So
from space.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to ask.